Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 70. As an artist, I feel that we must try many things, but above all else, we must dare to fail. John Cassavetes.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my indie film hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators and filmmakers as well. Anyone can learn from thousands of online courses, focus on all different types of creative skills, and even teach a class themselves. You can jump in and check out a variety of film classes from great filmmakers, including a few that I've made myself, and continue to help you build your skills as a filmmaker. Now, if you want a special Indie Film Hustle discount for 3 months for 99 cents, head over to indiefilmhustle.com/Skillshare. So guys, today we have a special episode. I did an interview a while back on a wonderful podcast called Filmmaker's Focus with Doc Kennedy. And the interview was so cool, I really wanted you guys to take a listen to it. Doc did a great job, and I talked about a whole bunch of different things about the industry that I haven't spoken about before on the show. So I thought it'd be a nice little bonus episode to kind of toss in there for you guys. So I hope you guys like this bonus episode. So enjoy.
Hey, Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
This is exciting for me. I love Indie Film Hustle.
Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome stuff going on there, my friend.
I appreciate that, brother. Thanks again. I appreciate that.
Well, I was excited to see that Indie Film Academy recently ranked you number 2 on their top list. Man, that's crazy.
Jason's a good friend of mine, and he did that on purpose. He called me up. He's like, I'm not going to rank you number 1, man. I'm just not going to do it. So, so it was just a lot of fun because I always, Jason and I, we have kind of like a wonderful rivalry, but it's very friendly. We're really good friends. And ever since I think he mentioned it to me once when we were talking one day, he's like, hey dude, you know, you're like the number 1 filmmaking podcast on iTunes? And I'm like, I am. And I looked at him like, I am. And the second, like within 3 hours, I had a post about it. I was promoting it as the number 1 film, and he's like, "Son of a, oh Jesus!" That was Black Friday for me, Alex.
Oh, that's funny.
But we're friends, and it's
you'll
good.
Take it, huh?
No, look, man, we'll take anything that could give you a little bit of a leverage or a little bit of a bump to help you move forward in your business is greatly appreciated. And I think it's always a good thing for all of us, in this space, the filmmaking space podcast specifically, to kind of help each other out as much as we can, because we just want to get more people, more filmmakers to come to this amazing resource that is podcasting. And there are some really good podcasts. There's some really horrible ones, but there are some really, really good. And there's a lot of great information in this medium that I think filmmakers are slowly starting to come around, where a lot of the other niches, like internet marketing or business or other things like that, have kind of, these guys get, millions of views a month, downloads a month. So it's something that I'm trying to do myself, just trying to bring as many filmmakers to the podcast medium as possible.
I love it. Yeah, for me, so I'm doing a lot of driving right now. So
okay.
I'm able to just flip on your show, Jason's show, download all this information into my brain that, while I'm doing nothing, literally, just driving.
Right.
I'm able to soak in all this knowledge, and it's invaluable to me.
Yeah, I've been a big podcast listener for probably over a year now, and I just started listening to a lot of guys outside of our niche, outside of the film industry, just kind of learning about all this kind of stuff. And man, it's insane. Like the stuff that the knowledge bombs, if you will, are insane. The kind of stuff you can sit down and listen to. Like, I just listened to a podcast on Tim Ferriss's. I love Tim Ferriss's podcast. He's like one of the top podcasts out there. And he was interviewing Kevin Costner. He interviewed Jamie Foxx. and you just sit there listening to like Jamie Foxx talk about how he came up and stuff. Like, that's freaking awesome. And you get so many cool stories, and not only entertaining, but the knowledge that they come up with is insane. I was just listening to Gene Simmons this morning at the gym from Kiss, and he has a new book out about being a businessman. And the stuff he was laying down, I was like, this is awesome. Podcasts are so powerful, and whoever's listening to this obviously knows that now. But it's so powerful, especially it's kind of like an audiobook, but really quick bites of great information if the show is done right.
Couldn't agree more. I love this, man. So why don't you give us just a little bit of background about yourself, Alex?
I am a carny. I've been working in the carnival. No, I'm joking. I knew
there was something up.
Yeah, I know exactly, right? I'm circus folk. No, basically, I've been a filmmaker for about 20 years. I've been in the film industry for about 20 years. I've probably produced finished in post-production, where I've made my bones most of the time. Most of the time in this business, I've been in post-production, probably about 15 years in the business of post-production. I've delivered probably over 1,000 projects or more, between commercials, music videos, feature films, shorts, documentaries, and all that kind of stuff. And that experience of just being in the post side of things has given me a very unique perspective on the film industry, as well as being a director for the last 12 years or so. I've been a director, commercials, music videos, short films, and I've been a producer on features as well. And I have a very unique perspective on the film industry because I get a front row seat, but I get a backdoor seat. I'm in that backdoor room while the things are going on in post, where you sit down and you're in a room for sometimes months at a time with people. And a lot of information gets shared, and in a good way. Not like, the cheesy gossip way, but just like you sit there and you watch what they go through. You sit and you see the processes of finishing the movie, the technical aspects of finishing the movie, the story, all that kind of stuff. But the business side is very fascinating to me because you kind of see what they go through. Like, oh, if I would have had this actor, maybe I would have done this, or and figured something out. Or, like a perfect example, I'll give you a perfect example of one movie I worked on. They made a movie. I color graded it for them. Small movie, was out of town, out of LA, and it was like a sci-fi thriller. And no stars at all. The guy went out, tried to sell it, couldn't get it sold because he had no stars in it. And the genre, he hadn't built up an audience or anything. We could talk about that later, but he was just going down the traditional distribution routes. And then he came back to me 6 months later. He goes, Alex, I need you to color grade a few more scenes for the movie. We've shot a few new scenes. I'm like, okay, great. Who's in those? Who's in it? It's like, oh, Michael Madsen and another actor that you might know. I'm like, fantastic. And then he re-edited the movie, replaced the shots with the old actor, put the new actors in, went out and sold it. Wow. Because he was a very smart producer and filmmaker. He figured it out. He's like, if I don't do this, if I don't spend a little bit of money to get these actors to come in and do a few scenes for me, I'm not going to be able to sell this movie. Which was so eye-opening for him. And I'd already known that, but I've never seen someone actually implement it, which was really wonderful to kind of go back and you know what, I got to go reshoot these scenes with a name actor because that's the only way I'm going to sell this thing. So anyway, that perspective of being in the film industry, it gives me that really unique point of view on the whole thing. And when I came up as a filmmaker, years ago, I created a short film called Broken, which is, I think, at this point, the most nauseating, most spoken about short film in the history of short films. Because I keep bringing it up and people keep bringing it up. So I'm like, all right, well, let's talk about it. And I was able to about 12 years ago now. It was released in 2005, so 6 years ago. 11 years ago, sorry. I'm horrible at math. We were able to shoot this movie on DV, mini DV. We had over 100 visual effects shots in it. We made it for $8,000 at the time. No stars, no nothing. Shot in West Palm Beach, Florida. And edited on Final Cut, color graded on Final Cut, on a TV. Not on a monitor. It was the very first thing I ever color graded in my life. And I color graded it in Final Cut with a bunch of different plugins that I created this insane look for. And we released it into the world, And I got into over almost 200 film festivals with it. Roger Ebert reviewed it, which is a whole other story. But the big thing was I was able to sell it. And I actually put together this course, not course, but I put together this kind of film school behind the scenes of how I was able to do it, because a lot of filmmakers wanted to know how I was able to pull so much out of that technology, out of the mini DV technology. I was able to take it and make it look very filmic when a lot of people had the exact same camera and just had no idea how to do it. So I put together about 3 hours worth of stuff and put it on a DVD and sold it. And we made roughly over $90,000 with it.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Selling DVDs, sold over 5,000 DVDs, and just kept going. And it just kind of grew into this thing. And today people are still talking about it, and I just repackaged it and put it together in another course that I released called Filmmaking Hacks, how to shoot and market your film. And I put a bunch of the stuff that was still very relevant, added a whole bunch of new stuff, and people still love it. Like, they still love all this kind of behind the scenes stuff that I did on it. So that's not a quick breakdown of who I am, but it's something. Sorry, didn't mean to throw a pitch in there. I just went into it.
Yeah, that's what we do, right?
Yeah, hustling, baby.
We pitch when we can.
We hustle, baby. We hustle.
So one question that I wanted to ask you, and this really ties into what you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see up-and-coming indie filmmakers doing right?
Just doing right in general?
Yeah, just doing right. I mean, we can talk about what they're doing bad all day long, but let's talk about a little bit about what they're doing right, and then we'll tear them down.
Okay. Well, I think a few filmmakers that I've seen and studied who understand the concept of audience building, understand that is the new paradigm that the whole film industry is changing into. If you want to be an independent artist, independent filmmaker, you have to build audiences. You have to be able to build the audience. Have you ever heard of the concept of the thousand true fan theory? Yeah. So for the audience, for your audience that might not know, the 1,000 True Fans was written by it was an article written by the co-founder of Wired magazine, and basically stating that all you need is 1,000 true fans to support you as a artist, filmmaker, whatever. And the concept is, if you got 1,000 people to pay you $100 a year, it's $100,000. That's not a bad deal. Most people can make a decent living at $100,000 doing what you love to do. And if you start thinking about it, it's like, well, that's about $10 a month, or $10 to $12, whatever the math is. And it started making sense. So if a filmmaker can build an audience, that audience can support that filmmaker through multiple films. So one of the there was a movie that just came out called Kung Fury. Have you heard of that one?
Yep, I've seen it.
It's insane. I love that movie.
It's hilarious.
It's so funny. But that was such a wonderful example of what a filmmaker did right. This guy who was outside of the business, and when I say outside, I mean outside. He's in like Sweden or something along those lines. He's not in the U.S. at all. He had a love for 80s movies and decided to make a short film about, I think it's a kung fu cop who's in the 80s who goes back in time to kill Hitler. And
which seems like a logical concept.
Obviously. And there's Thor involved too, and they go back into time. There's some dinosaurs. It's just brilliant. It's just a brilliant concept. So, but he went on to Kickstarter, and I think he raised $130,000 for a short film. But he was able to crowdsource and crowdfund. So as he was building his budget up, his money, his war chest, he was building up an audience. And then that audience started talking, and they started evangelizing for him. And all of a sudden now, he's made obscene amounts of money with this short film. Puts my poor little broken to shame. He's made obscene amounts of money. He's been able to merchandise like crazy. People are cosplaying to him at comic conventions. It's this kind of underground thing, but it doesn't have to be Star Wars. It could be underground. It could be that small audience. And that's the thing. I think one of the things that, if I can jump to one thing that people do wrong, filmmakers do wrong, is they try to appeal to everybody. But the people who really succeed appeal to a very niche audience. So if you try to be broad, you can't afford to get the attention of an entire broad audience. So you can't go, I need to go after males from 18 to 45. You don't have the money to do that. You're not a studio. You don't have $100 million to blanket all media for a week for people to be aware of your movie. But what this guy did, he's like, I'm going after guys and girls who love the 80s. And I'm going to do this really ridiculous little short about the 80s and people who love the 80s and love those action movies of the 80s and the sci-fi of the 80s. And that's his niche. That's who he went after. And he was able to not only make a living off of that now, he's building it up into like this little empire that, I'm sure he's not making millions with it. He might be. Who knows? God knows how much he's making with it. But the point is that he's a successful filmmaker. He's made and it's a short. It's a short. It's not even a feature. It's a short film. I can't wait for him to do a feature film version of this. Like, I'm sure he's working on it as we speak. And I'm sure the second that he puts it out there to crowdfund again, he'll probably get $500,000 to make it, or $2 million to make it, because there's such an audience. So he was able to build that audience up and start mining that audience, giving the audience what they want, and the audience and then is in return paying him or giving him money to continue to do his art. So it's a wonderful exchange. You create a product, the audience wants that product, they exchange money for it. It's called commerce, but it's a wonderful thing when an artist is able to do that. And I think that's a wonderful example of someone doing it right. And just building that audience is so important. And then there's so many other steps along the way. But audience building and crowdsourcing, as opposed to crowdfunding, and those are two different things, is so integral into the filmmaker's process nowadays. It has to be.
So I can, even though I can't hear people, I can hear them right now saying, but I don't have an audience. How do I can't do that. How do I even start?
Well,
what do you tell that person, Alex?
Well, I'll tell you what I just did. I launched Indie Film Hustle 6 months ago.
That's all. 6 months ago, and you're already the top-ranked filmmaking podcast on iTunes.
So I'm going to tell you how I did it, and this is what I'm now teaching and trying to spread the word on. I literally came out of nowhere. I was not active on Facebook. I had a Facebook account, of course, and I've had people from the olden days, from Broken Days and stuff. I was huge on MySpace, by the way, but huge on MySpace, by the way. So I had no Twitter account. I had my personal, again, just to have it, no other reason, but never really used it. Had no website, no concept. This was a brand new entity. No one had ever heard of it before. Yeah, and I leveraged nothing. The only thing I leveraged was a handful of people who knew who I was. And that was a small handful. It wasn't I didn't have a huge following by any stretch. And when I mean a handful of people, these are friends of mine. That's it. So I literally launched Indie Film Hustle and started to build an audience. Now, I'm sure you're going to ask, Alex, how did you do this? I created I created a brand new Facebook page, had 0 followers. I created a brand new Twitter page, 0 followers. Created a brand new Instagram page, 0 followers, and created a YouTube page, 0 followers. Brand new, starting from scratch. And then I just started pumping content out, pumping really good content out, because for me, I knew who my audience was. My audience was independent filmmakers. I know independent filmmakers. I love independent filmmakers. They are the audience that I know inside and out, because I am an independent filmmaker. So I understand what I need and what I want, and what I would pay money for and what I would find valuable. And I did not see that in the marketplace. Similar to Kung Fury, there are no other, Miami cops who go back in time to kill Hitler movies. So they're very rare, and if there are any at all, other than his. So I saw a hole in the marketplace. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other people doing what I do, like we talked about Jason with Indie Film Academy, Scott over at Film Trooper, and a bunch of other guys who do what I do, but the difference was I came in from a different perspective altogether, and everyone has a different flavor of what they do and how they present their information. I came from a position or a place of 20 years experience, a lot of post experience, and also filmmaking experience. So I can just kind of go out there and go, you know what, guys, I'm going to tell you guys the truth of stuff that I know for a fact that these are truths that I'm not seeing anyone tell you. So I started creating content based around that. And then I fell into this podcasting format, which was very strategic. I was going to create a podcast, but I had no idea how powerful podcasting really was until I jumped into it. And then
we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I saw that there was a very big hole in the marketplace of podcasting. So I was like, you know what? Let me go. I'm gonna give everybody as much great information as I possibly can. Things that nobody else talks about. Things like how to know when to work for free. Post-production workflow, understand it or die. Why you shouldn't maybe shoot 4K if you're not ready to shoot 4K because you might not understand the workflow and you might die in post-production, which is something I've seen many times now. So these are things that I was just kind of going down the road. Don't hire a DP just because they have a red camera. Mistakes like that people aren't talking about. So I'm like, let me just put some shine and light on it. So because I was able to do that, I started building a following because I created great content. I created content that was relevant to my niche. So I understood my niche, I understood my audience, and then I started to give the audience what they wanted for free. I'm giving it to them for free. I just want to build an audience. So as I keep giving them free stuff, and by the way, it's insane the amount of stuff I put out. And by the way, I do this all myself. I have nobody else with me.
So you're making all the graphics, you're doing everything.
I designed the website from scratch myself. I'm the tech guy. I have nothing. I have nobody else, dude. This is everything you see that has Indie Film Hustle's name on it. It's either by me or occasionally I'll get a guest post from somebody. And even then I'm still creating the graphics and launching it and marketing it and pushing it and all that kind of stuff. So I put out a tremendous amount of content because I'm insane. And I have a vigor of ambition. It's almost insane the amount of ambition I have. And when I turn it on, it's very difficult to turn off the spout. So I just wanted to keep going. So when I hit the scene, like Jason and Scott and these guys, they contacted like, who are you? like where did you come from? And I came in like a freight train. I think a few people called me a freight train because it was just like a nonstop entity that just kept coming. And we became friends and we kind of started talking to each other and helping each other out. Because I believe that if you help other people around you, the tide lifts all boats. And that's as opposed to like, oh, you're my competition. I noticed that from other niches that I was studying in, other internet marketers and things like that. They don't cannibalize each other. They kind of help each other. So I think a lot of times filmmakers themselves like, oh, well, I've got a movie and you got a movie and you're going to take my money away from my crowdfunding. I'm like, no, dude. Like, I guarantee you the guy who's going to give $50 to Kung Fury is not going to give $50 to the period piece. It's just like, dude,
exactly.
It's just there's no competition. And I learned that also from George Lucas, who said at the early days that him, Scorsese, Spielberg, Milius, De Palma, Coppola, they were all at the gates, but they wouldn't be let in. The studios wouldn't let them in. So instead of trying to beat each other up to try to get in like a crab, pulling each other down, they all helped each other. They said, well, look, like out in the olden days, the cavemen, they said, well, if we're by ourselves, we have a much less chance of survival. But if we group together, we have a much bigger chance of survival and helping each other, and then we can grow and become a stronger entity itself. And that's what they did. And there's always competition, of course, but they helped each other. So I've gone off on a tangent. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But anyway, so that's how I've been able to build this up. I built up my Twitter account now, just hit 14,000 followers. I'm over 12,000 followers on Instagram. My Facebook's around 1,500 because Facebook's really tough unless you want to pay, and I refuse to pay. So it's a lot harder to get followers there. But even if you got 1 million followers, Facebook doesn't let you talk to them because that's the way Facebook is. So I started going after other areas, and then I got almost 1,000 followers on, and I think almost like 50,000 views on YouTube. So I did this all within 6 months. And then, my traffic for my site has grown and grown, and more people are seeing what we're doing. But that was done literally by one guy who did a lot of research. I did a lot of work. I studied this whole thing probably about a year before I launched. So that might just be age, because I'm not a young buck anymore. So I sit there and I kind of analyze things. And when I launched hard. I didn't launch like quietly and like, let's just build it up. But like, no, I launched very hard. And that's how filmmakers need to be. You have to be aggressive, but you have to understand what you're doing. You have to understand study the techniques and learn the craft of what you're trying to do. So that's in a nutshell how to build an audience. I'm probably gonna create a course one day about how to do this. Like, but I'm gonna hopefully be doing that with a movie. Like actually take everybody through a process of actually doing that with an actual film itself. But I have been able to build up a pretty decent size audience very, very quickly. You just gotta study it, man. You gotta study who you're going after. If you're a horror guy making a horror movie, well, hell, man, there's a lot of horror fans out there. So go find them, build that audience up, do something cool, and give them good content. People want to be entertained. It's kind of like Gladiator. Are you not entertained? Like they want to be entertained. They want good quality content, whatever that niche is. If you're a vegan chef, and you sell recipes, give recipes away. You get people. It's easy. It's not as hard as you think to build an audience. It's just giving them great free content at first to build that audience, to build that trust, to build that rapport, and then slowly but surely you start adding more value to them with other content that you charge for, whether that be a movie, T-shirts, events. Meet and greets, audio courses, a million books. It's a million ways to then eventually monetize an audience. But first, you just want to, and you have to continue to give them free, great content and just build relationship. That's all it is.
Exactly. We just had Ashley Scott Myers on of sellingyourscreenplay.com.
Okay.
He's got 10,000 people on his email list.
That's awesome.
And it's it's something that has taken a little bit of time. Not everybody's going to run out of the gate like you have, Alex.
Well, I'm not. Look, yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But at the same time, now he's got this short film or a feature film that he's producing, and he's using the email list that he's created to help fund some of that. Of course. And it's not just trying to take money from people. It's not building this list to be able to use them in that way. He's just given so much free content like you have that people are absolutely willing to help him out with the project that's important to him. Absolutely.
It's you're leveraging your audience, but that's in a really good way. I see this from, do you know who Tim Ferriss is?
Yes.
All right, so Tim Ferriss, he did a TV show that was supposed to air on, I don't know, CNN or something like that. For whatever reason, they shot 12 episodes of the TV show, which is him doing, crazy stuff and kind of, learning how to be a world-class drummer in 7 days and stuff like that, and watching the process of it. And it was a great show, but I think it aired twice, 2 episodes aired, and then they pulled it, and then something happened, and they just lost the rights to it. So he went after the rights to get it back because he's like, look, I know I can monetize this. I know I can get this to my audience. I need my audience to see this. And he has a very big audience based on his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which every filmmaker on the planet should read. It's an amazing, amazing book. And so he got it, and he started leveraging his audience. He's like, hey guys, I got a new show. Within a week, he was the #1 TV show on iTunes.
Wow.
But he has a huge audience that he's given so much free content out to, and he's built this wonderful fan base that people and he started off with nothing as well. Like everybody in the audience has to understand. Everyone starts off with nothing. Everyone. No one's born with an audience. unless you're the Royals. And even then, you don't really care about the audience at that point because you're just doing your thing. But generally, no one starts off with a big audience. No one. You have to build it. Kevin Smith has been a genius at giving his audience what they want, and he has built an industry around himself and around not only his films but around himself, which he can monetize much easier as a celebrity than he can as a director. And some people might judge him for that. Other people might not. But
we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Gotta give it to the man. He knows what he's doing, and he leverages his audience constantly, and his audience loves him for it. I mean, same thing if you want to go even deeper, Troma. You know who Troma Films is?
I don't.
Okay, so if you type in Troma, Tromo, Troma Films. Lloyd Kaufman created, and Lloyd's going to be on the show in a few weeks, probably in a month or so. I interviewed him. He's been around since the 30s. He made a movie, not the 30s. He's been around for about 30 years. He made a movie called Toxic Avenger, which is a classic, an 80s classic movie. And he built an entire company around this kind of schlocky filmmaking, which is so odd because he's such a classically trained, very intelligent man. I found out. But he makes, Toxic Avenger, Romeo and Juliet, so many different crazy movies. But he built an audience around that. He took Toxic Avenger and people started following about, and then they just started pumping out movies like this. And he's built an entire business over the years about this process, about how he's able to mine his audience. And give his audience what he wants, what they want. And that's something a filmmaker needs to figure out. They need to figure out who they are as a filmmaker, as a person, as a business person, and then find their niche and then attack, but in a good way. Just go after who wants to see your stuff. And it might be the chicken before the egg kind of scenario. Like, I don't know what my audience is, but I like making these kind of movies. I'm like, well, if you like making those kind of movies, go find the audience to make those kind of movies. Or if you want to go after an audience, find the audience first, then make content for that audience. But don't try to be everything to everybody, because you'll never make it. It's impossible. It's impossible to do something like that. And I hate to use the word impossible, but if the studios with hundreds of millions of dollars can't do it, you can't either. Nobody can. No one can be everything to everybody, ever. It's not possible.
But this totally makes sense. When you go to see a Tarantino film, you know what you're getting.
He's built an audience up. He's built it up in a different way. And then every like Robert Rodriguez has an audience, obviously, and so does Tarantino, so does Kevin Smith. But Tarantino and Kevin Smith are two very different audiences. But they kind of overlap a little bit. They're because I like Tarantino films and I like Kevin Smith films, so they kind of overlap a little bit. But the true fans of Kevin Smith and the true fans of Tarantino probably wouldn't hang out often. But Tarantino has built his audience up around his movies. Same thing as Spielberg. Spielberg has an audience. He's a brand. So is Martin Scorsese. You go to see a Martin Scorsese movie, you know what you're going to get generally. You go to see a Spielberg movie, you know what you're going to get generally. And it's only when filmmakers vary from what they're known for that's when things become awry. So like when Scorsese did Last Temptation of Christ and Kundun, which are not his standard stuff, people were like, what's going on? But then, after you do so many movies, you could do whatever the hell you want. Ridley Scott does a million different genres and stuff. So then that becomes your brand. You just jump from genre to genre. So you don't go see a Western because Tarantino did it. You go see it because Tarantino made it. Yep. And that's a brand. And then, I can go on for hours about this.
Well, so one of the podcast episodes, it was early on that really turned me on to what you got going on here, Alex. It was talking about, do you have to move to LA to be successful?
Yeah.
Can you share with us a little bit about that? And is it mandatory that you move to LA?
No, what I said in the podcast, I'll repeat it here, but it basically, I moved to LA because, I was in Florida, which is a smaller market, obviously. It's a large filmmaking market, probably one of the top 5 in the country. But it was a small, much smaller than LA by all stretches. But I moved out here because I just wanted to go out to LA. I needed to be where the action was. So that was the difference for me. I came out here with nothing. I knew 3 people, just like I launching Indie Film Hustle. I had a Final Cut system and a color grading system, which were both the same. And I put it up in a second bedroom, and I just started going after work, and I started getting work. But mind you, I also had 10 years of demo reels and work underneath me that I did in Florida, so I wasn't just a fresh kid. But I was a nobody here, and I just started doing good work. The thing about moving to LA or to a big market is that your skill level will grow faster because you are around people who are doing this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can't walk into a Starbucks in LA any time of the day without somebody working on a screenplay. Like, it's just prerequisite. I feel that if there isn't somebody, I think Starbucks hires somebody to sit there and write a screenplay. Because everywhere I go, every time I go, there's always a guy writing a screenplay or talking about a screenplay or talking about a story. It's just like it's so embedded in the culture here of LA that you are around it 24/7. So you're challenged when you work with certain people because they've just been doing it so long. So you'll learn faster. You start it's kind of like when you're a carpenter. If you're you're at home whittling away on some wood, and all of a sudden they throw you into like, I need you to carve a 6-foot statue. You're going to learn a lot of things you might have not learned because you were just whittling away on a little piece of wood, as opposed to going to this huge, Michelangelo's-esque event, a project. Same thing happens here in LA. Now, to say that LA is the only place now, it might have been before, but not anymore. New York is still a very big market. Atlanta has become a huge filmmaking market because of their wonderful incentives. Before it was Louisiana for a little while before the incentives dried up. Florida had incentives too, but Florida has a really big production community as well. Austin has a pretty big, has a lot of a pretty big community as well. But there's a handful. There's not a lot of like big communities. But LA, if it were me today, LA, New York, Atlanta, and possibly Miami, because Miami is smaller now than Atlanta is, or Georgia in general, like Savannah and those places. But I think those are the 3 right now. And I'm sure a whole bunch of people around the country are, well, how about Kansas? I'm like, well, I'm not hearing a whole lot of stuff coming out of Kansas, guys. Sorry. Austin's also a very big filmmaking community as well. But from what I understand and from people who go there, it's nothing compared to LA. It's nothing compared to what Atlanta's going. There's 26 feature films going on right now in Atlanta, like right now. So, and a lot of them are big studio movies. So, it's those. I do think that you should, if you're a filmmaker, go to wherever you are. And if you're in India, go to where Bollywood is. If you're in England, go where Pine Studios is. I don't know where the Mecca is. London, I guess. Go wherever the Mecca is for filmmaking and set up shop and just start learning, because you'll learn much faster. I learned in a couple years here things that took me 5-6 years to learn back home in Florida. It's just because you're just exposed to so many more experienced people and projects that you just wouldn't have access to. You just would not have access to. So you're just kind of honing your skill at a much faster rate, as opposed to just watching YouTube videos or taking courses online. Those are wonderful and they're invaluable. But getting on a set, walking on the set of 24, which I had the opportunity to, and kind of watch what they're doing and, work with some of those guys, you just like, Jesus, man, like, you don't got this back home, where there might be one guy in Florida that has, he's the big kahuna as far as stunts are concerned. You've got 400 guys out here who have, credits list down to your arm, and, to work with someone like that is insane, which I had the opportunity to work with on some of my projects. So, yeah, I say do it, but do it when you're ready as well, because don't come out to LA or New York or a big city, when you're 20 and just kind of wish and pray that something's going to happen. So
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, because if it will, it'll destroy you. Like I came out to LA. I don't know if I said this in the show or not, but I came out to LA in 2001, trying to pedal my little editing reel around, and the town ate me.
I do remember you talking about that.
Yeah, the town ate me alive. I was so not ready. I had no plan, and I was completely eaten alive. And it took me another 7 years to come back. But by then, I'd already had a lot more stuff under my belt. I was a lot older, and I came with a plan, a crazy plan. I don't know if you remember the plan. It was crazy, but because I literally my wife, who was not my wife at the time, but we both came out here, knew 3 people.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Got a room in Toluca Lake or apartment in Toluca Lake, which is kind of like right by Burbank by Disney, and got an apartment, put up an editing system, and I brought a whole bunch of DVDs that I bought from going out of business Hollywood Videos and sold them on Amazon as a revenue stream while I got things going. So and that's a whole other story, but that's the hustle, and that's why I call it Indie Film Hustle, because I was like, you know what, we all hustle all the time, and why not call it that?
That's the whatever it takes.
You got to, man. I mean, all these guys who've made it, a lot of people see a lot of people only see the overnight success. They only see the award. They only see that one box office hit. They don't see the 20 years behind them, or the 10 years behind them, or the thousands of hours that they've put into their craft, or into, networking properly, or understanding what they're doing to get to that point. It takes so much time to get to those certain levels. And I think that's one thing that young filmmakers in general don't understand, is they think that, I'm going to put some stuff up on YouTube and I'm going to be huge. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. You have to understand your craft. You have to understand what you're doing and really learn your stuff before you can make it big. And even then, there's guys who have 20 years of experience underneath you and underneath them, and they're still struggling to get noticed or get this and that. So yeah, it takes a lot of work. Those 10,000 hour theory is probably light. It takes many more hours than that to hone your skills in whichever way, whatever you want to learn, or whatever you want to do in life.
And there's the value in surrounding yourself with people that have been there, done that. That's a totally another episode, but
yeah.
So as we kind of wrap things up here, Alex, you want to share with us just a little bit about what you're excited about this coming year?
Well, this year, Indie Film Hustle is, I've worked so hard to get this kind of audience. I'm building this audience. I'm building what I'm doing with Indie Film Hustle. So I'm really excited that I'm going to be bringing a bunch of new stuff to the audience, because the audience has actually reached out to me. And this eventually will happen once you start building your own audiences, is that, like, Alex, we want you to help us in this way or help us in that way. And, I even get emails like, how can I support you? Like, what can I buy something? I want to give you money, because they're so grateful for all the free knowledge and the free, content that I'm giving them, the value that I'm giving them, that they actually ask, like, where can I, can I donate to you? Can I buy something? And then a lot of other people are like, can you put a course together on really breaking this down? Or can you do a course about this? So that's what I've started to do. I've started creating courses for my audience, because in certain areas that I think people in our business don't have, my take on certain things. So I created filmmaking hacks, how to shoot and market your film, because I think that's invaluable. It goes through the whole process of how I did 3 films. I'm going to add a fourth film in soon. It's a living course, so I'm always changing and adding stuff to it. And it's about 9 hours long at this point. And it goes through how I made a bunch of my movies, commentary tracks from a bunch of different departments from all of the movies as well. You get to see the movies as well in there and analyze what I did. I did what I did right, what I did wrong. I'm not saying that they're the greatest movies of all time. I'm not saying they're Oscar winners. They're just my movies. They're just what I did at that time. I look at some of the stuff I did in the past. I'm like, oh, I'm sure, but with all artists, we all do that. It's just the way we all are. So I created that course. I had created another course called Twitter Hacks, how to get 10,000 true fans in 10 weeks, because it took me about 10 weeks to get 10,000 followers on Twitter, because Twitter came along a little bit later, and now I show you how not only to get those followers, but how to leverage those followers, how to engage with those followers, how to bring them into your ecosystem, how to get them into your website, and start building a community around them, because that's just another funnel of finding people. YouTube is another one, Facebook's another one, the podcast is another one, and so on. There's multiple different funnels that you can find that people can kind of come into your little ecosystem. So I created that course. It's done very, very well. I sell it now for, I think we're selling it for $97, but if you go to our site, you can just click on it, get a coupon for $25. So it's invaluable. That's around 3 or 4 hours long, and it really breaks it down how quickly. I mean, if you take that course, you'll have 200 followers within the first day or two. I have one guy who took it, and he doubled from 1,500 to 3,000 in less than a week. Nice. Just by using basic stuff. And these are real people. Like, these are real.
That's the thing.
They're real people. They're people who are interested in what you're doing. They're not fake. I'm not telling you, go buy 20,000 followers. No, these are real people that you've taken time to build up. And it takes time to build them up. And then they become your army. That's the thing. That's the thing about building an audience, is they become your army. They go out and evangelize for you. They retweet your stuff. They'll repost your stuff. They'll comment on it, and they'll kind of share it with their communities, and so on and so on. And I've seen stuff happen. Like I did, now I'm going off on a tangent. I apologize. But I saw the most controversial post I've done. Which do you know which one it is?
I can't take a guess, actually.
It's the 4K. Why filmmakers should not. Yeah. Oh God. Oof. I've gotten a lot of heat from that, but I also got a lot of love for that. And basically, it's like why independent filmmakers should not shoot 4K. It was a podcast and a post, and that one alone has been downloaded 35,000 times.
Wow!
As a podcast, that's insane for a podcast in our niche. Now, mind you, not all of my podcasts get 35,000 downloads. I wish, but it's insane that's how popular it became. And I saw it virally just explode. Like literally just went, and I literally was watching it in real time. It was fascinating. I posted somewhere, then it would get shared 5 more times, and then it would boom and boom. And within the first day, it was just like an onslaught. It was like my website almost crashed because I was getting so much traffic off of one really popular vote. And I wasn't doing it to like kind of clickbait or anything like that. It was a really valid argument trying to help people. And the majority of people, I'm going to say probably about 80 to 90% of people really understood what I was trying to say. Whether they agreed with it or not, they understood it, and they validated. And then there's, of course, the people who are like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, you're going to get that in the world. I don't care. It's fine. But that's the power of kind of like an audience. And once you
know what I like about those people that are saying you're an idiot? They're still talking about you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I learned that from Howard Stern. Because how many people hate him, but they kept listening to him just to see what he would say next. So
they'll tweet it out and say this is stupid, and then hey, there's my link.
Exactly. So I created Twitter Hacks, and then I just created a new course which will be out. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're hopefully going to have it out next week, which will be first week in February, called Film Festival Hacks, which is a co-creation with Chris Holland from FilmFestivalSecrets.com. Chris has been around in the film festival business for over a decade, and he's been behind the scenes. And then I have all this experience on the other side of the badge, as we like to call it, with being in. My films have played in probably almost 600 film festivals worldwide. So I have a very unique perspective on film festivals that way. So the combination of both of us in the same course, talking about both perspectives of things, is so powerful. And my God, I wish I would have had this course, because I would have saved me probably the first $1,000 that I spent on Broken, sending out, submission fees, and how that whole magic happens and the kind of like dark art of like, am I going to get in? Am I not going to get in? Is this the right festival? Are they just going to take my money? Are they even watching it? All this kind of stuff. So we put this whole course together. It's about almost 4 hours long, or a little bit over 4 hours. It's insane. Like, it really, really is insane. And that one, people can go to filmfestivalhacks.com and they'll get I think for the first 2 weeks they'll get it for $25. After that, it's going to go up. And then I have one other course that have you ever heard of Michael Haig? Or Chris?
I have.
Michael Haig and Chris Volger?
No, I can't say that I have.
You've heard of The Writer's Journey?
Yeah.
That's the author.
That's where I've heard it. I knew I had.
Yeah, The Writer's Journey, Chris Volger and Michael Haig, who wrote How to Write, the exact title is Writing Screenplays That Sell, which has been around for about 20 years or so. And
we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now, back to the show.
And Michael and I kind of got together to do another course called Storytelling and Screenplay and Story Secrets, The Hero's Two Journeys, which is basically these two guys lecturing about the hero's journey, which is the Joseph Campbell story, and Michael Haig's 6-stage process of story, and combining the two. It's an insane course. It's about 4 hours long. And they sit there for an hour and break down Aaron Brockovich, like beat by beat. So we kind of joined forces to release this course, and that's going to hopefully be out as well next week, on the first week of February. So we're going to be doing, for Indie Film Hustle, is going to be, I want Indie Film Hustle to be kind of a resource for filmmakers, an affordable resource for filmmakers to get really insane training that they might not get anywhere else, and have access to training that they might not have anywhere else, and especially for people from around the world, not just the U.S. But a lot of people who listen to me are in India, or in South Africa, or in Australia, or in England, or outside of the U.S. And a lot of times they just don't have access to the stuff we have here. So I want this to kind of be a worldwide access. I want Indie Film Hustle to be kind of a hub for not only great free content, but also really detailed education that they can really sink their teeth into and help. I just want to help. At the end of the day, I want filmmakers to succeed, man. I'm tired of seeing so many filmmakers get their asses handed to them by the business, which is the exact same. That's the first thing you read when you go to indiefilmhustle.com is that. I'm like, I was just tired of seeing so many filmmakers get destroyed by the business that I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and see if I can help them out a little bit. And then one other thing, I have a big announcement that I'll be announcing in the next few weeks or so, a very big project that I'm going to be doing that will further educate the Indie Film Hustle tribe, as I like to call them, and do something that I have never seen done before. So I haven't announced it yet, and I've been teasing people for the last few weeks about it. And I've been getting emails. What the hell are you doing? We have to know. I'm like, calm down. It'll come. So, at the end of the day, it's gonna be something that's gonna really help a lot of filmmakers, as well as do something I think that no one has done in the way that we're gonna do it. So that's enough for 2016.
Yeah. Thanks for leaving us hanging on the edge there.
And we're
got this huge thing coming, but you can't know.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to be doing. I have probably another 10 or 15 courses that we're planning to release this year. Post-production workflow I'm working on, an Instagram one to help again marketing and trying to get the word out. A bunch of different kinds of courses that we're going to be releasing, and I'm in negotiations with a few other people to try to bring other content in, as far as really high-end lighting courses and the camera courses, and breaking down a red camera and all this kind of stuff that I'm currently in negotiations with, because we're really trying to create a hub. We're trying to change the world, but our little niche. Again, not trying to change everything, but just trying to change our world, which is independent filmmakers, and really help them out from a truly humble place to kind of just like, guys, we just want to help you out here.
That's what I love about it, is that you make a guy like me feel like it's doable.
Yeah, and that's what I hope I could do, man. That's if I've done that, and I've got so much fan mail from people who said exactly that, like, man, you've changed my perspective on this. After listening to your podcast and reading what you do, I feel that I can do this. Like there's hope for me. And I really never knew that. Like I never felt that I was doing something that profound for people. I just thought, I'm like, look, I'm going to give you guys some information. But when you start helping people at that level, those are the kind of fans you want. Those are the kind of people that you want in your tribe, because you're helping them at a big level, and you want to continue to help them many years to come and continue to build that relationship up to the point where, you know, they become their own big thing. Because like, look, you know, like have you ever heard of Pat Flynn?
Yeah.
Well, Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. That book helped launch Pat Flynn, helped launch John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurial Fire, launch probably about another 10 or 15 juggernauts that are in that space, all because Tim Ferriss wrote that one book. And then so he's like kind of the godfather of all these guys. And I hope I can do that for other filmmakers. I hope, not that I'm as big as Tim Ferriss by any stretch, but I hope in my small way that I can inspire other filmmakers to go off and just tear down the walls of the, you know, the business and just go, look, we did it a different way. We don't need the studio. Don't get me wrong. If a studio calls me tomorrow and like, would you like to do Spider-Man 2? I'm like, yes. Absolutely. Would you like to do a Star Wars movie? Absolutely. Let's go. You know, I would. It would be wonderful. But when you're starting out, you don't have to lean on them. You can do it by yourself. You can go out there, make your movie. The technology is so cheap. It's so affordable. It's so powerful. If you take the time to learn the technology, if you take the time to learn your craft, there's no excuse. Now you can literally make a movie on your iPhone like Tangerine did and release it. But let's say, you know, Tangerine is a very unique example, but you can get a camera very inexpensively, borrow a camera, you know, rent one, whatever. Go make your movie, get a bunch of actors, write a great script, make a movie, and sell it to an audience that's already waiting for what you want. And you can self-distribute. You don't have to go through distribution anymore. And by the way, I actually had my film, which was called Lipstick and Bullets, which it was a compilation of all of my short films, plus all this kind of cool content that I was talking about. And I got it all back. I'm like, you know what, guys? You haven't done anything for me. I'm tired of what you're doing. Our deal is over, and I'm out. And I started selling it myself to my audience. And guess what? I'm making money with it, you know, because I'm able to get it to the audience that wants it. They had no idea how to get it to the audience that wanted that content. And that's the problem with distributors. They do very much shotgun approach to things as opposed to niche approach. And that's the future. Niche, 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 niche. The riches are in the niches.
I love that.
The riches are in the niches, and it's called show business for a reason, because business is twice as long as the word show. I can't take credit for either of them, but we'll use them here because other people told me those quotes. But I love them. They're great. The riches are in the niches, and the word business is twice as long as the word show, and there's a very specific reason for that. But you guys, whoever's listening to this, you have the ability to do it all. You just have to educate yourself. Go to resources like Doc's resource here, this wonderful podcast. Go to our podcast. Go to our sites. Go out there. The information's there. You just have to do the work, and that's what a lot of people are afraid of doing, is the work. But if you do the work, you can make it. There's no excuse anymore. When I was coming up, you know how much it cost me to do my first demo reel? $50,000 shot on 35 millimeter to do 3 commercials. You know what I mean? And I was in debt for years. Nowadays, I would have done 20 commercials for that, you know, shot on a red, and I would have an insane reel, and I could have gone out and hustled that reel. But nowadays is a lot different than back then. 35 was the only way to do it. There was no internet. There was no anything. Like it was a different world. I know I sound like an old fart when I talk like that, but it was just very, very different place in the world at the time. So no excuse, guys. You can do it. There's no question about it. I believe in you.
That's awesome. Love that. Well, Alex, this has just been phenomenal. And I could go on another 2-3 hours. I'm sure you could too.
No problem.
We'll just have links in the show notes and at dockennedy.com to link up with you. Yeah. There's going to be a mountain of show notes here. So we're going to link to everything that you were talking about as much as I can get in there.
I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If there's anything we can be doing for you besides the support, we're there for you.
Spread the word, man. It's like a virus. You gotta be that outbreak monkey, man. We gotta get it out there.
Yeah.
Gotta get the information.
Cowbell.
I'm sorry?
We're that cowbell.
Yeah, I need more cowbell. I definitely need more cowbell, without question. Just get the, and if it, and last thing I want to say, guys, if you don't get the information from me, just go find, or from Doc or anybody, go find it somewhere. The information is there. It's so much good information out there to go get and educate yourselves and learn. There's books, there's videos. I mean, there's just a plethora of information out there that you can go and find what you need to make your movie, and not only make your movie, but plan out a strategy to maintain yourself as an artist, and not just kind of put all your energy in trying to make a movie, because that's not enough anymore. You have to build an audience. You have to build a strategy that you can maintain yourself as an artist for many years to come, because if you don't, you're just going to be one of the...
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Many filmmakers I see on the Boulevard of Broken Dreams here in Hollywood. And that boulevard's very real, by the way. I literally see them. It's a very, very rough place. So just plan things out and go after your dreams, and don't let anyone stop you, man. You have no excuse anymore.
Hey guys, I hope you liked that one. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to talk to Doc, and he's just starting out on his podcast. He launched it a little bit ago, and he's just kind of revved that back up now. But he has a lot of great resources as well on his website. If you want to go to his website, head over to dockennedy.com. That's DOCKENNEDY.com. And he's got a lot of good articles as well as his podcast, and he has a lot of good guests as well. So speaking of community and speaking of getting out there and learning as much as you can about the film biz, I've created an online community for us to all kind of get together and interact with over on Facebook. It is a private group. It's the Indie Film Hustle private Facebook group, and you can sign up for free at indiefilmhustle.com/Facebook. And there you'll get first cracks at any new materials and content that we're putting out, because we post it there first before anywhere else, as well as interact with other people, show your work off, ask questions. It's a direct line not only to me, but also to the rest of the community. So indiefilmhustle.com/Facebook. And as always, please head over to filmmakingpodcast.com and leave us an honest review of the show. It really helps us out a lot. And thank you to all you guys who've done it. You guys have been giving us great reviews and great comments on the show, and I really, really appreciate it. It does help us out getting the word out on Indie Film Hustle and what we're trying to do, and help the indie film community out. So filmmakingpodcast.com. So guys, I also get a lot of emails from you guys asking me what I can do to support you and what we're doing here at Indie Film Hustle. And the best way you could do that is by visiting our sponsors, partaking in whatever they're offering, and then a lot of the courses and things like that we create as well. We're going to be coming up with a brand new film school, an online film school that we're going to be launching hopefully in the next couple weeks. And that's going to have all new courses, all new everything. We're going to be giving a lot of free previews away for those as well on our YouTube channel, and just going to be a lot of great stuff. So with that said, our second sponsor of the day is one of my favorite courses that we offer, is the USC Film School's only online course, Directing the Actor, by the legendary Nina Foch. This course is awesome. I took it. I learned so much about getting into the mind of an actor and understanding their language. And Nina breaks it down so well, not only for directors, but also for actors, and understanding the craft of acting better. So you can head over to indiefilmhustle.com/USC. And it's really cheap. It's something like $25 online course. Really, really well worth it, guys. So definitely check that out. And as always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.